Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, the polar vortex is not going to keep me down. Woo! The polar vortex has hit us. We seem to have one every year, and after a really warm December with rain and all that, we got a snap of the cold stuff. Yeah, I was just talking to a buddy of mine via the old text machine, Bold Yeti from up there in Alaska. We might even be colder than he is right now. I don't even know if that's possible. So I was just talking to him, and a buddy of his west of me, it was at Montana or Wyoming, 26 below Fahrenheit. Oh my gosh. So today, right now, outside, it's 2 degrees above zero. And the sun was out all day, so it looks beautiful outside. And unless you have a greenhouse, there's no respite. Now, I have the PSGF, and so before we dig into what this is all about, let's go get an update on the PSGF with the polar vortex. And how much heat am I having to pump into that place? So you might be wondering why I'm outside with the polar vortex here at 2 above zero, still feeling like negative teens wind chill. And I'm out here in a hoodie, no gloves, but I'm heading out to the passive solar green frame. Yeah, so look at the windows up there, everybody. The windows up there are clear for the first time in about 3 days. All the frost went off because the sun is out in all its glory. But let's get inside there because I'm cold. Yeah, I can come out in a hoodie because I know once I get into the passive solar greenhouse, green frame, I'm in good shape. So here we are. It's bright in here. It's lovely in here. So let's take a look at the temperature. Oh yeah, now it's saying it's 8 degrees outside. My phone disagrees. My phone says 2 above zero. But look at that, it says 41.5 degrees inside. So that is fantastic. Up there, it's probably closer to 50 degrees, but if you look real closely on those water jugs, yeah, they're frozen. A little bit. We've hovered in the low 20s for 2 nights in here, which is colder than I want, so I, of course, put the heater on the floor. This is a heater that I actually got from Candace when I picked up all her trees and stuff. Nice little heater there that's kicking out a little bit of heat, enough to kind of keep us where we need to be in here. So even though the thermometer says 41.5 degrees or so, that's about up here, I think. Up here it might be 50 with the sun coming through the windows there. Beautiful blue sky, fantastic. But then down here, it's probably close to freezing. Oh, yeah, that's right, the Blue Eddy is gone. Okay, what's up with the Blue Eddy? So it got cold enough for the last couple of days where we didn't get above zero yesterday. We barely got above zero today, and at night it's been down to the single digits below with wind chills in the minus 20 plus degree range, 30s and 40 belows out west and up north here in Minnesota. But I had a few issues with the PSGF in that it got just a little bit colder than I had wanted. So again, the heater's on. So for the first time with my power source, the Blue Eddy had to be brought inside because it had a red light flashing. The red light, or the words that were flashing, said temperature. I forget what it said, temperature something, or just the word temperature. And so it was not liking me. So I brought it into the house to warm up, plugged in my living room. And it's all at 100% power now, but it took about an hour in my house to kind of warm up, and powered it down, powered it back up, and now it's okay. So another lesson learned in the PSGF, I have to keep this thing close to freezing if at all possible. So I need that guy or something like that to keep this PSGF above freezing in this zone right in here where this is housed. Now the Blue Eddy is insulated in here just a little bit. It is insulated, but I have to make sure that it's not going to dip too much below freezing for too long. And that of course means that I have to keep the heater plugged in, and so I have to keep it on the grid for a little while longer until next week. So we have another week this week where it's going to be in the single digits, maybe some teens as we get to the weekend. And then next week, we're going to have highs back above normal in that mid to upper 30 range. So the PSGF is going to warm up real nice. But again, these windows, it's really nice to have these clear up because it was all sun today and that allowed this to get up into the lower 40s, at least at this range here, eye level. So everything's looking good in here. We're gonna head back inside and we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do with the trees that we just picked up from the nursery today. Yeah, the polar vortex wreaking a little havoc on the PSGF. As I've said multiple times before now, I didn't get a big enough solar panel. I don't have enough of a power Bluetti. I have the smaller one, which is not the right thing. I should have gotten much bigger to have more power so I can run my heaters and I can run my fan longer. So yes, I'm attached to the grid, but it's still doing its thing. And I even had to bring the Bluetti in, as I mentioned, and get rid of that red flashing light. And now it should be good to go to bring back out there. And we are expecting warmth, so that should be okay. What will I do different with the PSGF? Again, more power to make sure that I'm cycling that air. For those new to the channel, I want to get that acreage maybe this year or next. And I want to build a greenhouse out there, a passive solar green frame. And so I need to have an extended battery life. And then I also have to make sure it's going to be powered enough that if we have a polar vortex, it stays warm enough so it doesn't want to shut down. Because when it gets that cold, these battery packs and power stations just don't like that. So we're learning a ton. The experiment continues. And we are midway through January, so in a couple of weeks, February is going to hit, and it's going to be a whole new season. So let's get to the task at hand today. The polar vortex is not going to bring me down. Today is Martin Luther King Day when I am filming this, so it's the 15th of January. I don't have to go to work today, or I didn't have to go, so I went to the nursery. Hey, if it's cold and the polar vortex is in your neighborhood, get out of the house and go to a conservatory if you have one. We have one in St. Paul that's glorious. I should have done that today, but instead, I spent money. Yeah, I spent money on some more trees. Well, part of this is going to be workshop trees for one of my workshops that I have coming up this coming weekend with a family. So I get the privilege to go into this family's home, and they've hired me to come on by with some trees, and we're going to work on those trees. And so I picked up some more ficus trees from one of my favorite places to go, and that is Otten Brothers. Yeah, or Otten Bros, as they say. They don't say brothers. Out on the west side of the metro, Long Lake, Minnesota. If you're in the region and you want to go get some bonsai material, go to Otten Bros for sure. And so they take care of me tremendously. And the reason why I wanted to make a video and talk about Otten Bros on this Martin Luther King Day when it's frigid as all get out there is go to your nursery, and repeat customers, they're going to take care of you, right? And Otten Brothers takes care of me. So they give me a great deal on these trees because we work together, we do workshops together, and it's a fantastic relationship. And then every once in a while, now I can't guarantee this with all the nurseries out there, but it's always worth asking. Look at all these great trees that I was able to get from Otten Brothers. And then right in here, right in the middle, can you see that green pot in there? Right in there is a tree that I joked with my friend Linda out there, and Chris, the manager, and Linda's in charge of the bonsai stuff. Look at all these trees and all this beautiful greenery, and they're thick and they're looking good, and people are going to go find a tree, and hey, that one I'll pick up. And I found this tree. So we're going to talk about this tree. So here we have a Ficus benjamina. They call this the Toolittle ficus tree. So it's a Toolittle benjamina. And the reason why I loved this tree is because of the thing that I share with a lot of newcomers to bonsai when they come to the workshops that I work in, is you never know what tree could become a nice tree. So this tree happened to get a little bit of cold damage up here, and so it's looking kind of sparse. And Linda and I were talking, and Linda said, you know what, Dave, you should just take that tree and see what you could do with it. Because I was talking to her, and I pulled out the tree and said, you know what, very few people are going to pick this tree. And it could sit there at the nursery for a little while because it's one of those trees, it's kind of like what I say is the Charlie Brown tree. So if you grew up watching the Charlie Brown Christmas specials, the Christmas tree was not so spectacular, right? But then it turned out to be this glorious thing. So I joke sometimes in the workshops about a Charlie Brown tree. So this might be that Charlie Brown tree. Now, of all the Toolittle leaf ficus trees there, this one I grabbed because of the bottom. So when you're looking for a tree at a nursery, you want to find a nabari that you're going to like. That bottom of the tree that can hit the soil. Now this one's raised up above the soil a little bit, and we have these really gnarly big roots in here, and some of those might be able to completely go someday. But then if you look right here on the back side of this tree, We've got a nice nabari with some nice spread right there. Even if you look this side where the chop is, it's nice and wide down here. And here's the new leader that grew up from there when they chopped this probably a good year or two ago for sure. And it's got all this nice growth. So it's got a nice growth there with a split already. And we, in matter of fact, it's so thick up here, we even have slight reverse taper in there, right there. So as with all trees, we have no idea what the root system is going to be. There is plenty of new growth on here and life. There's new tips on here, green tips right here that they're putting out some new growth. So even though there was a little bit of cold damage right in here, we're going to fix all that, put this in some bonsai soil so we can really control what's going to happen with things in my plant room as I start to increase the temperatures in here. So here we have a tree that's out of the pot, and boy, it's coming apart real nice and easy. So we've got these great big bulbous roots. So the Toolittle leaf ficus is known for some of these bulbous roots down here, kind of like the willow leaf ficus that I've talked about in the past. And when we have these bulbous roots, we want to make sure we can kind of take care of those earlier rather than sooner, or earlier rather than later. So we're going to go in here, dig in here, and look at these bulbous roots and look at how wide this bottom of this plant becomes. And we have some fine roots in here, but they're down really, really low. And so this would be a really good candidate for a root over rock right now. And maybe we'll make this one a root over a rock just because it's such a nice claw-like root system that's going to grab around some kind of rock that I might have sitting here close by today. I'm going to go get some rocks for us to take a peek at, see if that's an option. We'll cut some roots, we'll get this in some bonsai soil, and then we'll see what we're going to do with the top of this tree. This pot is a little bit big for this tree, but it's going to be able to grow in this tree and put on a lot of roots. And I'm going to put it on this rock that I just happen to have down here in the room that does a nice job of cradling this tree right here. Look at how nice that can sit right there and almost cradles this rock like it was meant to be there, right? And then these can come back and look at that right there. It's flat, this root's coming down over here. This one's big, we might cut that one off. We might leave it for this iteration of the tree because it's root over rock, and we'll let these roots grow out. I don't even know if I'll trim many roots today, to be honest. We'll get a few off of here and clean it up. So there's another angle of that rock right there. Isn't that beautiful? So we got this rock, root over here, this root over here, and then this high one I can just take right off. And I think we'll do that for today and keep this slant this way. That'll be the way I plant this tree. So I'm going to get some soil in here, and then we'll get started. We're going to go ahead and get rid of this big root right here. I took that one off. And now we have this root that comes over here and hugs the tree real nice. Now we've got a couple other secondary roots in here that we're going to probably trim off. And so we have, look at that beautiful rock with that tree on it. That is fantastic. You love it when things work out like that. Now I got a couple of roots secondary going down here. I can probably cut this bulbous root right here at the rock. And so it doesn't go too much under the rock anymore and it starts to grow out. So we cut that root off right there, and then there's that root right there. And this starts to curl under the rock a little bit. So as I press this down and come back here, here's this really big bulbous root back here, which has another offshoot root right here. So I can either cut that down to there, or I can leave this for this, again, off-season planting just to grow, and we can maybe cut it back next time. I will cut off one of those roots going up, and that one as well. I think I will cut at least right there. And that'll be the back of this. Really fun root over rock. And we'll see how that grows underneath. So there's our tree. It's leaning this way. So we'll manipulate it over this way just a little bit more. Okay, so we have a root that's wrapping around the tree here that I want to get rid of. I want to see where that's coming from. It's coming from right there. I don't know how easy it's going to come off. But there we go. We cut it there. And that came off real nice right there. And we just took off a little nub of some roots. And then let's peel that off right here. That goes to the back of the tree, up under here, and we'll cut that off with the scissors for right now, up there. There we go. And now, you can see we have this big bulbous thing sticking up in the air. We're going to get rid of that too, right back here. There we go. And you can see it leaves a little bit of trail of some smaller roots. I'm going to cut that off. Get this root a little bit closer to being gone. And then this root goes underneath and comes over this big root. And so there's not a lot of fines here. So we're going to go ahead and cut that right off and hope for some more straight root growth. So there we go. We cut this that's wrapping around the root, and we're going to maybe get some more root growth to come out this way in that radial pattern. This one doesn't look like it's too alive. A little bit. We might get some more roots out of there as well. So that could shoot out some roots this way. We can maybe cut this whole big bulbous root off later. And as a matter of fact, I think we are going to cut that a little bit shorter. So here's our tree, and there's where this root flares out a little bit more. So we're going to come in here. I think I'm going to come this way here and go, there we go. And that's going to be able to maybe create some more fanning out. We might be able to, because there's a root that comes out right here and a root that comes down here. That one's damaged, and this one right here. We're just going to leave that now again because we don't have a ton of small feeder roots. You do this to some trees and you're totally fine. I'm still learning more and more about these Toolittle leaf ficuses, and so I want to make sure that we preserve that. Plus it hugs the rocks so fun. So let's get this back in there the way we saw it and visualize this rock. Okay, I like that slanted rock better, and it's going to grow up that way. I think we'll leave it right there. Now, most root over rock projects, you have to bury them under the roots, under the rocks for quite a long time. And so this one has a really nice claw type root pattern. And so we were able to cling over this rock right here pretty decently. And we can actually even expose some of the rock in this design right off the bat. So that's kind of nice. We'll expose this right here. We see this rock. I started this show by telling you how nobody wanted this tree. Now, I don't know for sure. They might see this tree and run away from it, but I just thought it was so fun. So now, as you can see, we've got this root exposed right here over the rock on left and right, and hopefully we'll be able to just have this thing get thicker and grab onto this rock all by itself. So again, I didn't secure this with any rope or anything, and we're just gonna keep this thing where it needs to be. I might add a rock, for instance, right here to keep this down on the rock. This might be needed right here, a heavy rock that just kind of pushes this down towards that rock. But I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. Okay, so now we have to look at this tree and figure out what we're going to do with this tree. Now this is all growing down. I have to be careful because it's not in by any wires or anything. But yeah, we're going to cut that little extra off. Now you can see the exposed root here. The exposed tree, I should say. And there's an old wound right there that's pretty dead and dry. And we can kind of grab that a little bit and cut off some of the deads. There we go. And I can put a little cut paste over that, and we can have that continue to heal with the growth of this tree. So this was chopped at some point or broken, but probably cut at the original Bonsai nursery before they sent it over to Ottenbros. And it's just been trying to heal. So dry and scratchy, and now we just kind of clean that up a little bit, and we'll put some cut paste on there. And then we've got some thick trunk with some possible movement out here. I don't want any of these low branches though. These low branches are just clogging in the way. And look, there's our tree right there, and it goes up right there. So there's a good tree right there. So a lot of these branches, some of them have some death. And so we're just going to do some trimming down to see where this thing is alive. Just a little section here. Well, we got all of this growth in here. And there's the white sap coming out right there. Right there, we get a little drip of sap right there. And we know this tree is alive and well. So that's, of course, always a great thing to see. And I could tell it was alive by the new growth we have in some of these tips. So we have a whole bunch of branches coming out here. Whole bunch of branches. from this trunk. Now this could be a multi-trunk tree from here, but I'm probably not going to want to keep any of these branches over here. So I'm going to cut those all off. And I'm going to take my smaller pliers here, or pliers, concave cutters. It's not a pliers, Dave. And I'm going to clean that up a little bit again. Clean up this little wound that we're now creating. There we go. And there's a bunch of branches in here that's growing. We're going to cut those out. Now if I turn this around to the back, we also have a couple of stragglers down here trying to grow. So this Charlie Brown Christmas tree of a tree now has this new shape to it. And look at that movement in that trunk. This could be a fun front someday right there, right? Clean up those wounds. We'll put some cut paste on there. They'll have some time to heal. And we cut out all the noise down here. Now that tree in the beginning was nowhere near looking like this as a potential tree. But we have all kinds of fun new growth in here. So we're going to keep trimming this thing until we find our initial design. This branch, not alive. There we go. Now we have a nice split right here, and then we have this new branch trying to grow right behind it there. That's going to make a big knuckle down there and thicken this up more than we want, because we almost have reverse taper already right there. It is 2 branches. We go from 1 to 2, but there's so much going on down here. It's trying to compensate for losing that limb right here, that it's got a lot of growth down there. So we want to make sure that we cut some of this off. We don't want all of that growth. Got an inside set of branches in here that looks a little bit dead there. There we go. So I have this branch right here that's alive and new. We can go ahead and keep that for now. This whole branch might come off someday just for this to be the main tree. We don't know that right now. It's too early to tell. I'm going to cut this a little shorter here. I'm going to cut this down right here. I'm going to cut that off here. We'll come to the back. We have a couple of, there we go, dead branches. We don't want those. This one looks pretty dead. This one we're actually just going to shorten up because I think, there we go. There's some live tissue. Now we're getting some live tissue there. That'll maybe throw out just a little bit of that sap. Now you see how that branch grows way inside towards the trunk? It's easier to see right here that it grows inside. We're just going to go ahead and cut this one off. And I left this one right there in case that grows up. I don't know if that's going to survive right there, but it's growing towards us if this is the front over here. We're just going to leave the rest of this greenery here though. Got a little dead section right there, a little nub right there. And so we have this life right here, and we're going to see if that'll grow. Now that is growing in the really wrong direction. We're just going to cut that off. And we got 3 branches here. That's too many branches. So let's just go ahead and cut this one off a little bit shorter for some dieback. And we don't want that to knuckle out too bad. So we're going to go ahead and just leave these 2 branches for now. And we'll see which ones of those take off or if we get any more back budding. There we go. And we have this little branch here that's trying to become a big branch. We're going to leave that to the trash. And so we have these 2 branches right here that we will cut off this little nub back here when it dies off. And we got some stuff to decide. And again, this one's probably not going to stick around, but we'll just leave it there for today. This one also looks a little bit toast. We'll cut that one off. This one's coming right out at us. Let's cut that one off. And highlights gives more space for this. I can even cut this leaf off just to show you that it's growing this direction. And then we have the top of this tree. It splits really nice right here. And then we have this back branch that doesn't do a whole lot, and that's a 3. We got from 1 to 3. We don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this back one off. And that leaves this split right here, which is kind of nice. And then this one splits up here. We're just going to trim that down. We're going to trim this down, make that more compact, and cut off maybe this guy and this guy. We're promoting growth out this way. There we go. So our little Charlie Brown tree is a root over a rock, and we kind of set this up for an apex here and possibly a primary branch here. This is a little thick and cumbersome right here, so we might cut all the way back to this guy, and maybe this one grows like this, and then this leaf right here kind of goes back out this way, or we get some more back budding down here. We watered down the tree, dried down, pat dried this little wound here, so it's not dripping with moisture. And we're gonna put a little cut paste right here and hopefully let that get a little bit more nice looking over time. We've got a long time for this thing to do its stuff, so we're not in a hurry. This will heal up in no time with the new growth, probably in the summertime when this thing starts to get a nice big growth spurt. So there is some cut paste on that part of the tree. A tree that probably no one would take. And this is a bit of a big root, so it's a little awkward, right? But we're gonna now hope for some more roots to grow from this, from these roots. And we're gonna hope that they expand, and then in our next planting, we'll cut some of these roots back and hope for some more roots to grow out from these other roots. We'll do this in the summer months when we have a nice push of growth, so I can do this maybe in 2025. But right now, as I start to warm up the plant room, starting this week, I'm going to warm up the plant room in the daytime so it gets closer to 70 in here more regularly, and we'll be able to set this thing on its journey. This could be another possible front down the road, but with the rock slanted the way it is, if that can just slowly get bigger and grow, we're going to be able to have a nice little root over rock structure here. There we have the Charlie Brown tree. Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Ottenbros, for providing some great trees for a workshop coming up. It's gonna be fantastic. And this little guy that probably 95 out of 100 people looking at this tree wouldn't even consider this tree. That's my opinion. And there's a few of us out there that would be crazy enough to try this tree. But people are gonna look for a real lush tree and really nice nabari. But look at that tree. Now, whether this is a shohin style tree, which is gonna be below 8 inches in the future, that nabari is real nice and thick, and it's got this new branch up here that has some movement. And I think this has the potential to be a fun little tree. We're gonna give it a life. We're gonna give it a chance. So there we have it. A fun little Charlie Brown tree to hopefully be majestical someday. Yeah, super exciting. Hey, that's gonna wrap up another one. I hope the polar vortex is not making you crazy. Get outside if you can, and work on a tree if you can. If you have the space and you have the plant room and warmth to do so. What fun. Hey, take care of you. Take care of your bonsai, and you know we're gonna catch you again very soon.